I think it's fair to say that you folks, in the 11% of the student population that is part of independent education in this country, independent primary and secondary education, you are the educational laboratory for the 21st century. The most important innovations in education from now on are going to flow from you and not from the public system. They're going to flow from America probably as well, and from the schools that you do, that you are running. We do a lot of work with public schools. One of our major clients right now is the the Palm Beach County school system, the 11th largest in the country. So I'm speaking from some capacity to compare. Wonderful people doing all kinds of very good things, but absolutely hamstrung by various public directives, various public policies, and of course a budget process which says, this is a great thing to do, let's do it. And finally, 3 years later, when it gets into the budget, you can do it. You guys can basically say, this is a great thing. I think we can probably do this next week if I talk to one of my trustees whom I know has deep pockets. This is really good, let's make it happen. And everybody says, yeah, let's go. And off you go. You can test innovations in all kinds of ways. Your one problem, of course, is that you tend to be working with a sample, a limited sample of kids who can afford to be where you are, although that's increasingly changing as you get more scholarship activity going. My point is, you are in that sense what on sailing vessels, bigger than Roseway, is known as the trim tab. The trim tab is a tiny little rudder on the end of a big rudder, because the rudder itself is too big to turn on an ocean liner. When you're turning the wheel of the ship, don't be under any illusion you're turning that rudder. You can't. There's too much force on it. What you're turning is a little tiny rudder on the back of the rudder, which turns the rudder itself, right? And that little trim tab finally turns the rudder that finally turns the whole ship. That's where you are. You're in that ability to make that kind of difference, it seems to me, with education. And the primary thing that you're doing, from my perspective, and I think you all understand this, the primary thing that you're doing is the character development piece. Of course you're doing excellence. Of course you're doing very serious critical thinking and all of that in ways that you have to do, but lots of other people are doing that as well. The thing that nobody else is doing the way you're doing it is this question of character. Now, if you doubt that, take a look at what NAIS is just about to produce. It's their latest parent motivations survey. And it basically suggests that your pool of students, the ones who are interested in looking at considering independent education, this is a series of parents in a survey who have, and I'm reading here, who have actively investigated school choices within the past 2 years. This survey breaks them into 5 categories. There are parents who push, but really can't afford. They want to have really good kids, but they really can't afford to do anything with public education. That's about 10% of the sample. There are special kids parents, and that's about 26% of the sample. Most of them are still in public schools, although they're interested in considering you. There are public school proponents, people who say, no, I'm wedded to the public school system. I believe in that ideologically and firmly, and I'm probably not going to ever switch over to independent schools, and that's about 19%. That leaves 2 other very interesting groups. Success-driven parents, who really want their kids to be into top-tier colleges and have a successful life. That's about 28%. Character-building parents is the rest. That's 17%. Now, here's the kicker. About half of the success-driven parents are willing to consider public schools. Of the 17% that are the character-building parents, 80% of them are already in your schools. Now, you can do the math as well as I can. Half of 28% is about 14%. Here's your quick final exam. What is 4/5 of 17? Yeah, well, it turns out to be 13.5%, statistically indistinguishable from the 14%. You are looking at a group of people out there who are equally interested in this question of really serious, good, top-level academic education and really serious about the moral development of their kids. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You know that these are the kind of people that you're attracting. The point is, how do you create the kinds of cultures of integrity so that when you all leave, and there will come a retirement date for each of you, no matter how much you love what you're doing right now, sooner or later that will come upon you. And at that point, remember this wonderful old adage from up in New England where we live, that it is your duty always to leave the wood pile higher than you found it. What are you doing as you move through your particular career to create the kind of culture of integrity so that when you leave, things are better than they were before? What are the stories you're leaving behind? What's the legacy you're leaving behind? What are the narratives that people say and all of that?